his early work will stand the test of time, and his lyrics, I think, are really underappreciated.
They are, huh?
Yeah, I think he was I mean, some of that early stuff still isn't topped in terms of like just the kind of the darkness in it. You know what I mean?
What is it? What is it about those, like the death metal lyrics in that time? It's kind of had like that special, timeless. Like what is that?
My theory with a lot of these things, and I think it's just the cycle of why the first wave of things tend to be really great. And I think it's because if you're part of that, chances are, if you were one of the people that created that sound, it's much more likely that came from an internal place of like something, a more honest place. I think Chris Barnes, his lyrics, again, for better or worse, probably came from a fairly honest place. I mean, I think I heard in an interview with him that when he wrote a lot of those lyrics, he was living across the street from like an elementary school or something, and it was like super obnoxious and fucking, he was just like really misanthropic at that time of just like the noise and the fucking, whatever. I don't know what I'm paraphrasing this, but I mean, he had I think for the same reason a lot of the guys that make really, really heavy, and I don't mean like jun 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 heavy, but like conceptually, emotionally heavy stuff. Unfortunately, sometimes they have short stints in their career, because I think if you have access, if you're in the place psychologically where this music really comes from in an honest way, you're probably living a fairly turbulent life internally or externally. You know,
unfortunately,
what I mean?
yes, yeah.
So in my experience, I tend to see a inverse correlation between the quality of someone's metal music and the stability and reliability of their psychological state. You know what I mean? So
that's very true.
I don't really know how we got on that subject, but I think, that's right. We were talking about why those early lyrics are great. And I think it's because simply, and I mean this in a very neutral way, that music was being made by people that were in a dark place, And I think when that kind of music started becoming more appreciated on a larger scale, that gives people room to be attracted to things other than that kind of essence, right? Some people like, well, I mean, how many times do you hear someone say like, oh, I think the riffs are sick, but like I'm not in the vocals or whatever.
Sure.
So as time goes on, people start pruning what they like, cherry picking what they like. Mm-hmm. And then that becomes the people that aren't in that really dark place can make music that sort of sounds like it. But now it's less confrontational. It's less scary to listen to. You know what I mean? It's Metallica, not Slayer. And I love Metallica. There's nothing. I mean, they're one of my favorite bands ever.
Yeah.
But it's not the same. When you're listening to Metallica, you're having or Iron Maiden. You know what I mean? You're having like a huge cinematic, awesome experience. You listen to Slayer and you're like, oh my God, is this a part of reality that exists? Like, are they talking about something real? Like, is this a rock I want to look under?
Right I want to be shit and not wipe, dude. I'm gonna live the life of Slayer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's any kind of music.
Sorry,
that
Chris.
Really,
Chris, that one got him.
That's good.
Sorry, can I go on? I apologize.
No.
No, it is true, man.
I think any music or any art that holds up a mirror and shows you a part of yourself that you'd rather not believe exists, it's going to be it's not going to be quite as popular as something that just wants to rip and have a good time. You know what I mean? So I just think that as the culture expands and people get more and more into this kind of stuff, there's almost less room for that. There's almost less room for that, the kind of music that comes from this really, what am I trying to say? There also creates, as the metal music gets, I don't know, safer sounds so like cliche, but it makes the stuff that is a little more reckless with what it tries to tackle with even more taboo. So I just think the real stuff just always gets pushed further into a more underground state. It usually takes on a different kind of musical identity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what happened to death metal. I think like early death metal was very in touch with something. And as death metal became more about the riffs and the blast beats, a lot of those guys went into things like black metal and whatnot, you know, where it was like, this is a place where people that realized that their approach to their work was more maybe philosophical or ideological, something like that, eventually felt, I think, alienated from death metal, and they moved on. So, and then that happened in black metal too. And then those guys, a lot of the guys that went to black metal for that, yeah.
It's funny. That kind of ties into what you said. Like you said, death metal has become a disease. You know, yeah. And they probably like you. Probably I was going to ask that question, but you just answered it prior to it. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, for better or worse, you know, like it's. I mean, any art is really can be a mind virus. You know,
it's funny how big black metal is now. It's weird.
Yeah,